All right. We just started a conversation on the background. The Daily Graphic begins the morning and says that Chief Justice probes two court registrars over embezzlement of funds. The photographs are here. And the big one, appointment committee gives Amidou the nod. A smiling photograph of him here. And Business Finder says, scrap inflation targeting policy, economist to the Bank of Ghana. We're also told by the Daily Graphic that NCA calls telcos to order, gives them up to the end of February to improve services, and Cocoa Board operates on $2 billion budget deficit due to fall in cocoa price on the international market. Those are some of the stories I have with my guest this morning. Dr. Abed Jinapo is from the University of Education, is to my extreme left. Doc, good morning once again.
Good morning, sir.
Hope you're great.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for your time with us. A member of the NPP's communication team, Sakasalia, is also here. Good morning, too.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
I'm doing well.
Thanks for your time. And then the former member of parliament for the Nanton constituency, member of the NDC, Comrade Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, is also here. Good morning.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope you're doing great, too.
I'm doing great.
Okay, yeah. This morning you're rapping on some high patois. I don't know if...
I actually speak patois.
Oh, I see. That's
I've
great.
never been a Rastaman before.
Oh, I see.
I'm a Pan-Africanist.
Oh, okay.
And I thought you are one too.
Yeah, All right. Gentlemen, welcome to the show this morning. Let's start with Mr. Martin Amidou. The appointment committee, by consensus, approved the nomination as special prosecutor moments after his grueling vetting last Tuesday. We're told by the chairman, Mr. Jefosewusu, that all the ACP members, with the exception of one, voted in favor of the approval. He, however, did not give a name of a member who did not vote in support of a nominee. He said that the committee would present a report to Parliament for consideration, adoption, and possible approval. You saw the vetting more than 7 hours, and Daily Graphic has a detailed story on that. Dr. Jinapo, let me start from your end there. You were not, I guess, expecting anything different from the appointment committee about giving the nod to Mr. Amidou.
Well, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers. I think almost everybody who watched the vetting probably would have come to the conclusion that Mr. Martin Amidou is up to the task in terms of performing that duty. And I'm not surprised, because if you look at his CV, I mean, he has a pedigree of knowledge when it comes to the law. And he has extensive experience, and he's a very confident man. There's no doubt about it. I've always said that, and I think Honorable Murtala will be in a better position to speak to it. When such vetting is being done, what is being looked for? Are you looking at the knowledge of the individual within the spectrum of the job being assigned to that person, which should, of course, should be a variable, whether the person is qualified or not. But it's also important and instructive to know the demeanor, the character, the individual who we see. So if I look at what happened, I mean, there are a number of things that we didn't know about Martin Amidou that at least were unveiled during the vetting. I didn't even know that it was called Ben Kaiser. And I didn't even know that the name is Anansi Slawa. And some of the things that have been said about him, I mean, he was in a better position to more or less to speak to them. But one interesting thing, if not two, that I wish and pray that Mr. Amidou, moving forward, if, as we are told, the committee, appointment committee unanimously approved him, he's supposed to go to Parliament for debate, and I'm very positive that Parliament will approve of him. But I think he needs to understand and appreciate the fact that he finds himself in a new position that probably is quite different from what the number of positions that he has held. And I say this because, if you quite remember, there was a question that was posed to him regarding Obeda Samwa, whether he was his boss. And he said Obeda Samwa is not his boss.
You think he was wrong?
Well, I think so. I think so. I think so, because if Obed was not his boss, he was a deputy attorney general to the attorney general. Who is the current attorney general to him? The current attorney general, what's her name? Is it Gloria Kufu?
Madam Gloria.
Gloria Kufu. So how does Mr. Amidu see Gloria Kufu?
Because he's a senior to her when it comes to...
No, he works under her. He works under her. Martin Amidu works under Gloria Kufu by the nature of his job. He works under Gloria Kufu. And I can say for a fact, I mean, if we check, if Martin Amidu probably was not called to bar before Gloria Kufu, maybe they are colleagues or contemporaries. How does he see His Excellency the President? How does the Vice President see the President? So if you have this orientation and mindset that being a boss, I mean, you work under people, and probably the people that you work under are people that maybe you entered the journalism field before. You get it. So it's quite a little bit worrying. And you can say for a fact, there's no, even the question was posed, his relationship with the council or the board that is supposed to supervise his activities. And his mindset and the way he sees it is quite different. When you have an individual of that nature, if you are not careful, it might lead to what? Insubordination. And I think there are remnants of that from his past. You look at his response to, I mean, the rumor that was being bundled around relative to his relationship with Professor Mills. We're being told that, look, he was being insubordinate. And I wouldn't be surprised, even though he says that was not the case, but I wouldn't be surprised if he happens to smack off that character because of his orientation and mindset. So as Ghanaians, our interest is not just the individual Martin Amidu, right, but our interest is his performance. And I believe that, look, all these discussions that we are making relative to what he's going to be doing, we want him to be a good and a better person. And I would wish that he lets go a little bit of his ego. I mean, looking at him, he's overly egoistic. There's no doubt about it. And he feels, I mean, I don't want to say self-aggrandizement, but he thinks that he knows all, but you can't know everything.
You think he should be a servant?
Yes, okay. He should be a servant, and I think he's been a servant. I mean, his track record is impressive. But when you find, and that is where I'm tempted to believe that he's had a number of challenges during his career. You know, Martin Amidu was the running mate to Professor Mills. The second time he was not nominated. This is not the first time where we've had somebody nominated 3 times. But Umia was nominated 3 times by Nanado. So it tells you that there was something wrong somewhere. You get a point. Apart from that, he was appointed as Attorney General. Attorney General, he had a problem with Professor Mills. Notwithstanding what explanation is being given, definitely there was a problem. Whether he was fired, whether he resigned, there was a problem. And even during the interview, during the vetting, he said he was appointed by President Mahama as he was given a certain position. He's a counsel to something of that sort. And even there was a problem. I don't want it to become repetitive. He has a 7-year tenure. The mandate that is being given to him is so important and crucial to the development of this country that he cannot and should not let his ego overtake him such that he will not be able to perform. And I think the onus also lies on the president to give him a proper orientation. Because I believe that the success or failure of this office is going to be tied to His Excellency the President, because that's his legacy.
I'm grateful. Saka, others have also raised the concern that this is the man who admitted that at a point in time in his career, he's been compelled to drop prosecuting an individual because that person was the nephew of perhaps the person who appointed him, or the person he was serving. And so he could cave in as a human being. But the others say that, look, that might have happened, but he has other pluses that we should rely on instead of looking at that one admission of failure to make a general assessment of him.
Yeah, thank you very much. Before I get there, I mean, Doc make a lot of points. Good morning to our cherished viewers. First of all, I think that those who were doubting as to the propriety or the suitability of Martin Amidu, I mean, 2 days ago could confirm that indeed he is the man cast for the job. I mean, I do not have problem with the demeanor. Indeed, the moment that we are, we need a human being of that nature. We need somebody's...
What kind of nature are you talking?
Yeah, we need somebody whose demeanor itself could be so scary to the extent that by hearing the name or by even seeing him, you would drop whatever that you wish to have done. That is the reason why others say that he wants him to put the fear of God in would-be committed of corruption. Because look, we cannot continue to do business as usual.
Saka, we shot people for corruption, but we're still talking about
yes. You see, we cannot do business as usual. We want people who come to office and take the posture of, laissez-faire attitude. People who come and be smiling over everything, and then goading people on to commit corruption. This is a man with that demeanor that we are talking about, that temperament that we are talking about, was able to individually, in his private capacity, actually take on people who corrupted this nation, got conviction for us, and we are now in the process of retrieving the money with that demeanor. So it is not about demeanor. If that demeanor, no, it's not in you alone. I mean, I've heard other people say those things. That his temperament and all those things was not friendly. You are coming to an office instead of you to smile. Why should he smile? When we need a job to be done, a job that to ensure that Ghanaians, those who are corrupt, are actually the fear of God is actually put to them and all that. Then you say that, oh, when he comes, even though he has knowledge in the law and all that, this is a man that was methodically taught through choice. The president did not just get up or got up. And indeed, the unanimity of his acceptance by Parliament, that did not come as a surprise to anybody. Because even the wider space, I mean, his appointment itself received that from all over the world. People say that this is the man that we've been looking for all this while. And it leaves no doubt in anybody's mind that indeed Nana wants to fight corruption. And look at, I mean, anybody who is being grilled for 9 hours, by all means, you will get one or two things that will be controversial and people will talk about. And that is the reason why Doctor is talking about, he saying that Obeda Samoa was not his boss and all that. It is in a context. I mean, they both were working together and all that, and one was superior to the other. If you are superior to me, does not mean that, I mean, you're a boss and therefore whatever that you say and all that.
The Director of Communications of the NPP, is he or she not your boss?
Well, I mean, I can choose, depending on the context.
What context?
Depending on the context. The context that Amidu
in the
uses.
NPP, and you are a communicator under that office. He's not your boss?
I'm saying that is subject to argument, subject to anybody interpretations and all that. All right. But that was his. He believed he wasn't a boss. They were working colleagues. One was superior than the other in terms of their workings and all that, but not necessarily a boss. I mean, we can go and look for the definition of who a boss is and the context in Africa, how we use the word boss and all that. But you were saying that at a point he had to drop certain cases because it was said to him that the president
that the man is a nephew of the former
but president. You see, he did not just put it that way, so simplistic, that that was the nephew of the former president and therefore don't prosecute the person. He talked about certain spokes that were put in his way, and that the deputy in cahoot with all of them, I mean the powers that be, did all that. And he could not as individual. You see, it's a teamwork. That's the reason why he himself has alluded to that. It's a teamwork. And if the whole government is not in support of him prosecuting somebody, he as Attorney General alone cannot continue to have that individualistic policy that I will prosecute no matter what, even when there is no docket and all that. So to that extent, you know our setting. You know the Ghanaian setting. That when you are at a place and your superior is not interested in a certain way or a certain policy, it's so difficult for, unless, of course, you decide to resign. He even said, you remember about this matter about him resigning, writing an apology letter to Professor Mills and all that. That was not a revelation in the when he talked about it the last time. He even wrote during the time of the NDC. He wrote about it, and there are letters to that. That, I mean, he was coerced to do so by senior members of the North and senior members of the NDC. And all that, and he actually said all those things, but that does not mean that he is wicked. The fact that within the NDC he has had problems. I mean, if somebody like him had that strong antipathy towards corruption, it would be very difficult for anybody to live in the fold of the NDC. You'll be given a position, you have problems with them. I, for instance, given a position within NDC, I have a problem with them because what I believe in is completely stranger to what they believe in. They do not believe in fighting vigorously corruption. That was the reason why Professor Mills and others, put a lot of spokes in his way when he wanted to fight the Wayomi case. The NDC were all over the place defending Wayomi, even though Matanamidu had a different, opinion. And that culminated in his leaving office. So, by all means, like as I told you, any anti-graft crusader working with the NDC would definitely have problems with them. And it came as no surprise to some of us that Matanamidu had problems. But with the MPP, we know that is how he is. We know that this is a man that is of his own. This is a man that will not go to all manner of shenanigans and all that. He is a man that believes in himself. And it actually showed in the vetting. He believed in himself. And you can decide to call it arrogance. You can decide to call it whatever. But I think that we need a man that would not let the office become weak, the office that is going to occupy. That office is so important. That office, we need to change things in this country. And changing things need somebody with strong mentality, somebody with principle, somebody with proven track record of integrity. And you cannot bypass Matanamidu when you are looking for such a person. And therefore, for him to go there and exhibit so excellently and prove the point that indeed Nanado is not coming to joke. Nanado knows very well that Matanamidu will be prosecuting his own people. He knows very well. He could have just taken anybody who would just come and window, prosecute and all that. But he meant business, and therefore he meant somebody. He needed somebody with the mold of Matanamidu, who would come and do prosecution, not just doing prosecution. You remember that when the NDC came to power in 2008, they did all manner of prosecutions, but they never even convicted even one person because of the porous nature of their prosecutions and all that. We need somebody like this who individually could prosecute Wayomi, Waterville, and Asotofo.
So for you, the battle against corruption is won with Ms. Hamidu in the seat.
Pardon?
The battle against corruption is won with Ms. Hamidu in the seat.
I mean, with Hamidu is in the seat is part of, the reason why it will be won. It's not just, the finished article. I mean, there are other mechanisms that we have put in place, including people who do not like corruption, people who are competent enough and has integrity to actually move this nation forward. It is not only about Matanamidu. Even the president himself, I mean, his demeanor and all that shows that this is somebody that would not condone corruption and all that, and therefore needed people like Matanamidu to come and complement it. So it is not only Matanamidu.
All right.
It is the government in its entirety that is ready to fight corruption. I'm
grateful. Saka Salia is a member of the NPP's communication team. Comrade Mutala, the appointment committee has given him the nod, and you had your colleague panelists make their submissions. What do you make of the man in the seat now?
Well, let me say good morning to my colleagues and you and your cherished viewers, and of course the good people of Naton constituency. Interesting points are made this morning by my brother and a friend. And did I hear him say that when the NDC came into power into 2008, because the people who were given the responsibility to prosecute were not competent, that's the reason why we couldn't prosecute and convict people. Martin Amidu was there. Now you are now questioning the competence of the very person you have praised here.
He wasn't the attorney.
I'm saying that
until 2012.
Hold on, Martin. Yes, until 2012, from 2008 up to 2012.
And he only served for 1 year.
Oh, please, it doesn't still matter. I'm saying that from 2008 to 2006, and the NDC was in office, Martin Amidu was given the opportunity to have been the Minister for Justice and Attorney General. Who did he prosecute and convict? That is the point. Now you are telling us that he single-handedly prosecuted Woyome. You are not stating the facts. Martin Amidu didn't prosecute Woyome. And as a matter of fact, the NDC government went to court. If you want to make statements that are factual. But let me come to the issue of the vetting.
You went to court to do what?
Please, Martin Amidu went. I'm saying that this NDC government.
The civil aspect of the case.
Hold on, he's now talking about civil aspect.
Look,
I listen to you.
progress.
I listen to you. Just have the patience. You are not talking about civil aspect. We'll come to that. I'm going to pick every single inaccurate statement that you have peddled here. He's talking about the fact that you have a president who is not corrupt. Go and read Manasseh's folder. Manasseh had written and accused no less a person than the president of the Republic of Ghana for conniving to rob the people of this country at Boston. Manasseh said, hold on,
are they
please.
not allegations?
I'm coming. I'm coming. No, please. Oh, you see, I'm coming.
Are they not allegations?
I will make that. I'm making a point. If you could just allow me. He's asking me whether Manasseh is a court. Martin Amidu was a court.
Okay.
That's the logic. I mean, interesting logic this morning. I am saying that, and I'll tell you why Manasseh's folder is important. Manasseh has accused no less a person than His Excellency the President, and said that the President personally reprimanded the Minister for Energy for even attempting to constitute a committee to investigate the thievery at Bost. Not a single member of government, including the incompetent communicators of the MPP, raised a finger about that. I'm saying that if we want to go by the logic that you are espousing, that allegations that were made, by the way, even Martin Amidu himself admitted at the vetting that the numerous allegations he leveled against President Mahama and his appointees were based on perception. Interestingly, the same person claimed repeatedly on the program that he is a defender of the Constitution, an advocate of constitutional rule. The same Constitution tells you you cannot pronounce anybody guilty until proven guilty beyond any doubt by a competent court of jurisdiction. This same person came and said that they were perception. And in one breath he said intelligence. And then when they asked him, he said intelligence because I was a former Minister of Interior. Wait a minute. If today the former Minister of Interior and the NDC comes out to say that you are a gay because he has speaks intelligence, if I have perception that you are a criminal because I perceive you to be so. Now you malign people, you destroyed the integrity of people, you call them names, you took them to your own court, your own judge, you are the own jury, convicted them without a scintilla of evidence. And then when you appear before a committee under oath, they put the question to you, then you say it was perception. And I'm saying that it's worrying. It is not about NDC or NPP. If today I come out and make allegations against any other person, and I don't have any evidence, you think that is the way our democracy should move? We have never had any government under the 4th Republican Constitution that allegations of corruptions are made against that government in their first year than this government. The extent to which you have leading members of your party who have publicly stated that you need to pay 20,000 to 30,000 to have access to the president. The president has become a corruption clearing agent. Now, even the seat for cash, before the committee came out with their report, the president cleared everybody. The president met the media and said that every single allegations made against my appointees have been investigated by independent bodies. I ask you, with all due respect, ask His Excellency the President, which independent body investigated the thievery at Bost? Which independent body?
You call it thievery?
Yes, it's thievery. It's
thievery.
I will tell you why. Oh,
so is it?
Who said the committee to investigate the thievery at Bost?
Murtala Mohammed, aren't you?
And even the BNI also.
You see, aren't you also going the same tangent? If you're calling this thievery, you're not also going.
He's not even appreciating the issues, the things that have been done by his own government. He's sitting here telling us that a committee was set up to investigate the thievery at Bost. I'll call it thievery, and I'll tell you the reason. No committee was set up. We were there when the minister for energy.
You don't think that a court should pronounce what you're saying?
You see, take the same pill you have given us repeatedly, and you think that the governments have a proverb. If you think that people can take warm water and sleep, also take it and sleep. Now, every single statement Martin Amidu made, admitted at the program, because specific questions were put to him, and he said it was perception. Now, I am amazed that people who would want to defend constitutionalism, democratic rule, can go and make conclusive statement where they describe President Mahama as a looter, the entire NDC as bunch of looters. At a time when he was doing that, he knew too well in the heart of his heart that he was peddling falsehood just to malign. Of course, if he wasn't, it's not. Please, you don't express. Can I? Will you tell him to listen to me?
Saka, you
I listen to you, Saka. When you tell me expressing an opinion, you don't express an opinion and through that you jump into conclusion, pronounce people guilty. I can express an opinion. I think there is corruption. But I can't say that you are corrupt when I have no evidence to that effect. And I'm saying he was able to write those things because there wasn't anybody to check him. When people subjected him to questions under oath, he knew that lying under oath would be extremely consequential. He said, no, it was on perception. In one breath, he said, oh, intelligence. And the intelligence is that somebody told him. If I sit today and somebody came and told me that you stole money, and I'm not prepared to tell you who told you, and I just say yes because you are a thief because somebody told me, it could be hallucinating. It could be a dream. But let me come to the substantive issue. You see, this is not the first time that we have people being vetted under 8-9 hours. My former boss, Dr. Spiogabra vetting, lasted over 8 hours. And it's amazing today. Mr. Martin,
was it not 6 hours?
No, it was more than that. No, it cannot be more. It was more than. It cannot be more. Whether it was.
I think it was around 6 hours.
What is it about?
I think that's the record.
He's not saying what is it about. Spiogabra died to take a long time.
No, that doesn't matter. But I think it was just around 6 hours.
Statement. No, I mean, these are insulting statements you make.
But because that position, it's not as
As what? Minister of Trade is not as.
I think until.
Do you appreciate
this one? Is a novelty.
I think until Mr. Ahmedu, I think Spio held that
I am saying that Spio, you can go and check it. 8 hours, check it. Dr. Spiogabra. But you see, he claimed that, oh yes, Mr. Obera Samoa is not my boss. I was at the ministry before he came. I served under Honorable Abuga Pili. I call him my boss. I served under Honorable Ayerga as a Deputy Minister for Information. I call him my boss. I served under Dr. Spiogabra, I call him my boss. As a matter of fact, I was sent to Minister of Trade as a Deputy Minister before Dr. Spiogabra was sent to Minister of Trade as a substantive minister. But that is my boss. Now, even in law, even at the bar, you call people your seniors because they have been called to the bar long before you. As a matter of fact, the people Mr. Obera Samoa taught law, and there is no denying the fact that he's a gem. You may have problems with him, but you see, he claimed that he did not want to make statements against people who wouldn't have the opportunity to respond. A narcissist issue. Yet he made allegations against Professor Mills because he's aware he's dead. Hold on. He on the same program. Now he made allegations against Professor Waisini because he's dead. The same person, one Honorable Haruna Idrisu, made a joke. Even at a time when after apologizing, this same man was not prepared to yield. As a matter of fact, and he claimed to be the protector of northern values. The same northern values tells you don't address people using your left hand. He used his left hand throughout. This is a pretentious person trying to protect and defend values. That is the point I'm making.
Do you think that these issues that you're raising will take or will make his job difficult?
Not at all. I'll come to. And he said that within the end, he said, look, Mr. Martin Amidu is not incorruptible than me, Mutala. I am saying this on national television. He is not more incorruptible than me. And I am in government, and there are several of my kind, thousands in the NDC, who are absolutely not corrupt. Absolutely. Now you tell me that within the NDC, because the NDC, Mr. Martin Amidu is incorruptible, he cannot. I served in that government. I am not corrupt. I have never been, and I will never be. And I'm saying that he's not incorruptible than those of us who served in that government. But you see, Let us get something very clearly. When you have such interviews or such vetings, you are one testing the capability and the ability of the person, and most importantly, the temperament. He came across as a very vindictive, abrasive, arrogant, intolerant person.
That's what that's what you saw.
Yes, he came across.
Okay.
Please, as a matter of fact, it is the opinion of Kennedy Agyapong too. It is not only my opinion. Please, I am saying that he came across as such a person, but that will not have an effect on his work. I have no doubt. I have not questioned his intelligence, his capability, and ability to do that. Not at all. But what I'm saying is that if you have a person who had written series of articles, chastised, maligned, insult, and convicted people, call them all manner of names, only for the person to appear before a committee and says, oh no, it was just perception. It was so-called intelligence. But let me make this conclusion. The criminal procedural processes cannot change with the appointment of Mr. Martin Amidu or not. It's still going to be the same thing. You go to court with evidence, and the evidence will be supported by law. If he is going to court with perception, with such abrasive things, he'll be embarrassed big time. And let's get something very clear. The NDC unanimously supported the approval of Mr. Martin Amidu, even though we raised concerns about some of the things he said about the NDC. How do you know Suhin didn't support?
Suhin did not support.
You see, I'm saying that the NDC,
officially we're yet to know.
The NDC did that because, look, we have absolutely nothing to hide. And we have said repeatedly that, look, we don't have any problem with anybody fighting corruption. The NDC has demonstrated that. As a matter of fact, we had people who were leading members of the NDC who were prosecuted under the NDC. Under this government, the Flagstaff House is considered a citadel for corruption, and the president is the chairman of the clearing agent. The Flagstaff House is the clearing agent.
These are also allegations.
You have leading members.
Even Parliament confirmed the clearance.
Yes, until
so the president was right.
Comment until we comment.
The for what? The minority has a view.
Okay, please hold your fire.
Yes,
comment. Have you wrapped up?
So the point I'm making is that it will not. Please, I mean, don't.
No, just 5 seconds.
It will not affect his work. I have no doubt at all. What I'm saying is that the processes, the criminal prosecutor processes, are going to be the same. What I expect Mr. Martin Amidu to do is to go by the assurances he gave the people of this country. And I have no doubt at all his competency, his ability. But the point is that he is going to work under a Minister for Justice and Attorney General. He must begin realizing that he has a boss. And the boss he is going to work under.
I guess you've raised that point. I'm grateful. All right. Okay, a quick one.
Yeah, if somebody, I mean, a bystander, hear Honorable Mutaka talk,
I'm not Mutala. You can't even pronounce.
Oh, Mutala talk. He would think that Martin Amidu is just like the Fifi Cotes and the NDC people who were vetted some time ago. No, come on.
Saka, please.
Oh, no, in the context. No, in the context. No, I want to. In the context. Please.
Ignore the name.
Please, can you let me talk?
Okay.
The person would have thought that is one of the NDC appointees who went to Parliament, and when they were asked questions about things that they had said earlier on, they said, oh, it was political talk. We said it without any verifiable reason and all that thing. You remember? No, please, let me finish. That is the reason why I use the word Fifi-Kuti, Benyuado and Co. Because they went and changed their mouth and all that. Martin Amidu is not that type of person. Because look, he has a track record of actually living his ways. He individually prosecuted people that you could not prosecute.
Okay.
Martin Amidu, he prosecuted I should have he did that. So you're saying this well.
So I'm saying that I'm grateful.
He's not just saying that you people are corrupt. He's not just saying that you people in capacity by using Article 2.
In his capacity as
Article 2 of our Constitution. In that capacity. So I'm saying that he's not just saying that you people are corrupt. You cannot just say that it is just opinion or allegations. He had tested the law and got conviction and knew and therefore can come to that conclusion.
Which conviction?
He got conviction on what you mean, Waterville and all.
Are you living in Kusumukaya?
Okay, all right. Okay, Saka, I am grateful. Let me get Dr. Jinapo in.
Therefore, he can clearly say that people are corrupt.
Saka, I am grateful.
I'm
grateful.
One or two things that needs to be clarified. I heard Honorable Mutala make the point that Saka is communicator and they are chopping tax. I mean, I don't think he's being paid by government. I would have expected him to remark.
I said that these Ghanaians, what your communicators, they chop. These are the people who chop your money.
I believe he communicates for the MPP,
okay, not for
government. And okay. I would think that he does that.
But the MPP is ruling Ghana, doctor.
Oh no, but all the same. Let's
why? Okay,
but you see, right, very quickly.
Touch on
when you have somebody come to this country and listen to my very good friends, and that person happens to be a stranger, the person would think that probably Martin Amidu is an MPP man.
Yes.
You understand? At the point in time, Martin Amidu was the running mate to Professor Mills. And what it meant was that he was capable of being what? The president. He was capable of being the president. The point being made here is, this is how good the NDC saw him as an individual. As an individual. And if you remember, as at that time, Martin Amidu probably was speaking against Nanado. Because Nanado was contested. Yeah. So why has the tables changed? The tables have changed because politicians always have what? Interest. They don't have permanent friends. And all these allegations that are being made, and I said, look, I want to see Martin Amidu successful. And I believe every Ghanaian wants to see him what? A successful what? Special prosecutor. Because there's unanimity to the fact that, look, we hate corruption. And all these allegations that are being peddled around, whether the Flagstaff House is the seat of corruption, whether the president is the leader of corruption, Martin Amidu is coming. Martin Amidu will help unravel and solve all these things.
Can he really do this?
We hope.
Is he really?
Listen. I've said it. Let me tell you.
Office, not the man.
Let me tell you. I've said that. Look, the office of the special prosecutor is not going to be a panacea to solving what corruption issues is in this country. And the office of the special prosecutor cannot work in isolation. That is why the teamwork spirit of the person occupying that office is something that is worthy of what talking about. Because if Martin Amidu, let's say, says that Saka is corrupt, and he takes Saka to what? The court. And the court itself is corrupt. How are you going to get prosecution?
Right.
He takes the person to court. And at the court, as we speak, they don't have the infrastructure. How are you going to get prosecution? How are you going to get conviction? In fact, as it stands today, it's somewhere in the news that the state attorney office, they are short of what? Lawyers. And this guy is not going to work alone. He needs investigators, he needs prosecutors, he needs lawyers. He needs the necessary logistics. So this whole ecstasy and euphoria that is surrounding this, I think we need to be a little bit cautious. This particular appointment is supposed to be an addition to the fight against corruption, but it is not going to be a panacea to what.
Give me the daily guide. Let's quickly take a look at this.
Can I just make this quick statement?
5 seconds.
Even at the vetting, Mr. Martin Amidu himself indicated that I am not the one who is going to be doing the investigation. We have statutory bodies that are tasked with the responsibility to do such investigations. Now, when they are done with their investigation, then the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, in this case, if the Minister of Justice thinks that Mr. Martin Amidu should handle that, then he would then look at it and say that there's enough evidence for me to do what? It doesn't mean... The Act
959 actually gives a special prosecutor's office the duty to do investigation.
You get something. So get something very clear.
Okay.
So they don't need I am moving on. They are going to be working with bodies such as Yoko, and even at the not collaboration. Not necessarily collaboration. What I'm saying is that those bodies are still going to engage in their constitutional mandated responsibilities of investigating crime. Now, if they investigate crime, they don't prosecute. They do the investigation. The decision to prosecute is in the hands of the Minister for Justice and Attorney General. Now, if you have a special prosecutor, the special prosecutor also has the responsibility to prosecute. Of course, under the direction of the Minister of Justice.
Okay.
I'm not talking about
gentlemen, I am grateful. Let me move on.
It's important.
Gentlemen, I am grateful. I think we've made the point.
No, I'm not.
You have made the point.
It's important I stated. I'm not talking about clearance. What I'm saying is that he's going to be prosecuting. Those bodies are also going to engage in investigation. It doesn't mean that the responsibility of prosecution by the Minister of Justice and Attorney General is gone off. That is not what it means.
All right.
That's the point
Okay, gentlemen, I am grateful. Let me jump to the Daily Guide this morning.
That's what I said.
Daily Guide says that special petroleum tax cut to 13%. And we're told that the Ministry of Finance yesterday laid a special petroleum tax amendment bill 2018 that seeks to reduce the special petroleum tax of 15% to 13% to help reduce the prices of petroleum, which in recent times have seen upward adjustment. The special petroleum tax bill was introduced by the NDC in 2016 to shore up revenues generated from fuel prices when crude oil prices were plummeting. The new bill to reduce the tax was laid in Parliament by Deputy Finance Minister. Now we're told that the committee is expected to report back to the plenary for general consideration and approval. Now, as soon as the bill was laid, members of the NDC said it was only a window dressing to addressing the high prices of petroleum products and that the tax ought to be completely scrapped for Ghanaians to have respite. The Deputy Minister, however, told the press after laying the new bill that the NDC people introduced that tax when they were in government. According to him, the initial tax was 17.5% when it was introduced, but was later reduced to 15% by the NPP government. He said a new rate is fixed and that any further increase in fuel prices will not affect the rate to help cushion consumers. He went on to say that the NPP, as a listening government, has heard the cries of Ghanaians about the high cost of fuel and would take further steps to help lessen the plight of Ghanaians. Saka, let me start with you. So efforts being made to bring down fuel prices after the recent demonstration. We're told that the special petroleum tax from 15% will be moved to 13% if Parliament agrees.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that the move by the MPP government dovetail into our grand agenda of ameliorating the sufferings of Ghanaians when it comes to fuel consumption and all that. You remember the MPP, when we came to power, we had to do a lot of interventions to ensure that the prices of petroleum do not escalate. For instance, I mean, a lot of nuisance taxes were removed and ESLA was also reduced. I mean, the two components within ESLA, the National Electrification Levy and the National Lighting Scheme, were reduced from 5% to 2% and 5% to 3% respectively. The excise duty was also removed and all that. So the special petroleum levy that the NDC actually introduced in 2016 actually also saw reduction from 17.5% to 15% by the NPP government. And we are now saying that because Ghanaians are still saying that petroleum prices are still going up, we are going to reduce it further from the 15% that we reduced it to, from the 17. We are now going to reduce it to 13%. I think that this is a very sensitive government. It's a government that we just do not just sit down and say. We do what we say. We walk our talk. And to me, in terms of energy, in terms of the fact that we even want to bring down the cost of production down, and that culminated in the fact that even in the 2018 budget, when we said that we're going to reduce domestic consumers who patronize electricity to by 13%, and the government has taken the move, written to PURC and all that. So I think that the government is doing everything under its sleeves to ensure that we ameliorate the sufferings of consumers and all that. In the past, I mean, we never saw some of these things. What they did, what they knew doing very well was what they did by introducing all manner of taxes. I mean, I don't think even the NDC can talk about this tax because these are the very people. You see, the hypocrisy is that these same people that actually introduce the tax by saying that, oh, the prices of the petroleum at the world market was going up, and therefore we needed to put this thing to generate money and all that. Even when it was reducing, when we were the world market, it reduced at a point to even $28 per barrel, and the NDC did not even reduce fuel. Now it's about $69 per barrel, and we are doing everything under our sleeves to ensure that where we have the power to reduce, we are doing it, because we have the power to take off some of the taxes, and we are doing it. We have the competence to ensure that the CD becomes stabilized. Because look, there are factors that lead to petroleum increase, a price increase, and one is, the dollar rate, and that is the exchange rate and all that. And we have been able to stabilize the dollar relatively, within the 1 year that we've been in power. And that one alone, if it were the other way around, and if it were the NDC or any other government whose record shows that they are unable to keep the integrity of the dollar in check, I mean, the situation would have been different. Even though the world market price keep on rising, we are able to stabilize fuel prices for the benefit of everybody. And now we are going ahead to ensure that even some of the taxes that we have power to reduce, we are reducing it.
Why can't this tax be taken off completely? I mean, this was an issue when it was introduced. I mean, there were in Parliament, you could, if you recall, this special tax, the petroleum tax, was a big issue, where even the chairman of the Finance Committee, member of Parliament, I think NewDay in South, suggested that this tax is criminal and that it should be taken off. And yet, taking it off is becoming a problem. Why can't it be scrapped off totally?
No, you see, the fact of the matter is that you don't dislocate the economy in that way. The very moment you decide to take certain things, because you need to do it gradually. Even if we will take it off, we need to ensure, because look, the reason why it was introduced by the NDC, I don't think those reasons are no longer tenable today. And if those reasons are tenable, what we can do is that we can manage by reducing it, and still, have a balance between using the excess money that we get to do what the reason why the NDC introduced it, and to also help the consumer. But to say that we should just scrap it, it will dislocate the economy. You see, but what we can do, like I told you, is how we have
gradually
to
reduce
gradually at a point that we know that at this particular point we have gotten a solution to solving the opportunity cost that its exclusion would be. And I think that we have done well to that extent, and Parliament is committed to ensuring that they vote for this. And the hypocrisy that I was trying to talk about is that the people who actually introduce this levy or this tax are now telling us that, we should scrap it, we should take it away. And they are not mindful of the fact that they put it there for a reason.
Saka, I'm grateful. Comrade, so it is going down to 13%, but some of the NDC communicators have suggested they should be taken off completely. Why?
Well, when I listen to my brother Saka, I'm wondering whether he's talking about Ghana. As a matter of fact, your party promised that it was a needless tax introduction, and therefore, when you are given the mandate, you are going to take it off. So we are just asking you to do. You did.
We said we will reduce.
Oh, please, you never said.
And this is the second time we are doing the
in fact, you can check. You can just Google what the Minister for Energy, current Minister for Energy,
you Google and show.
You can deny that. You claim that you are not going to. I'll do that. You can deny that. You claim that you are going to take it off. We are asking you to do what you're supposed to do. Again, he's talking about the fact that they've been able to stabilize the exchange rate. And I'm asking whether he's speaking from Kosomokaya. Hold on. We all understand English.
3%.
I listen to you. Yeah. Will you listen to me? I beg you. In this country, as of January 2017, a gallon of petrol was sold at 14 cedis. Today, it's over 22 cedis. You sit here,
It was
Hold on,
sold
please.
at 18
Oh,
cedis.
it's not true.
Oh, please.
It's not true.
Also
I am
go.
challenging
Go.
your producers to do that and shame this gentleman on this program.
They should do that.
I'm saying that it was sold at 14 cedis.
I said
Today,
18
That's in
please.
January 2017.
I'm saying, yes, as a January, I want your producers to do that and
18
shame him.
cedis.
Because he peddled a lot
They
of falsehood
should do
here.
it.
He peddled a lot of falsehood here, and then he get away with it. I think that someone should do that, and I will do that myself immediately I finish.
Yeah,
it was sold at 14 cedis. Today is over 22 cedis.
No, it's 21.
Oh,
It's not even
please,
up to 22.
Please. Oh, I beg you, please.
We
You
all
see,
buy food.
the viewing public, the woman who struggled to enter Trotro will be very angry with you. The Kaye person who had to enter Trotro from Agbogbuloshi to more or less Accra to work, when prices, the fares that she used to pay as of January 2017 has been doubled, will be very angry with you. Because this is the demonstration of how insensitive you guys are to the plight of people. He sits here and he says relative stability. As of January 2017, the dollar to the cedi was 4.2. Today, I just checked 4.5. You sit here and then you tell us that you have been able to stabilize the relative stability. If you appreciate how 0.3 is and the consequences of it on the economy and businesses, you won't sit here and make that statement.
And you were
so please,
leaving it to free fall.
I'm saying that, you see,
if you know all that,
isn't this
and your government
reduction-
allowed it to free
I mean, if
fall.
you don't have any respect for us, have respect for the viewing public. I listen to you.
Isn't this reduction beneficial?
I am saying that to what margin? Now you have people who promise that they were going to get something off. Now we are asking you to just do your solemn promise to the people of this country. Do what you promised Ghanaians you are going to do. That one too, is it a difficult thing?
His point that they
today,
need to stabilize certain
they knew
first and then gradually.
They knew too well the reasons why the NDC introduced those taxes. They knew very well. They had ranking members of energy. They had members of parliament. They knew. They were interested in political interest and opportunism. So they didn't care about the consequences of it on the economy. Today he's talking about opportunity costs. Opportunity costs didn't just descend from heavens. Opportunity costs have always been with us. At the time you were making those promises, didn't you know that the factors that culminated and led to that, and you said they were killer taxes. You described them as killer taxes. If you reduce it by 2, appreciated as it is, what will be the effect of it on the almost or more than 22 Ghana cedis that people pay? What will be the effect of it on the trot that someone who lives at Medina and works at Accra, the mason, the Kaye woman, the truck pusher, who indeed would have to struggle to get money to do it. And as a result,
wrap up for me. Let me go to Dr.
And as a result of the astronomical increases that this insensitive government has indeed imposed on the people of this country, people are finding it difficult because it is an input, it's a factor of production. And the moment there is an increase in that tax, what happens is the cost of production will go high. What happens is the prices of items that they used to produce will also go high. Price will go high.
But
and that is the
why they are
consequence.
reducing it?
Why would you increase it from 14 to 22 and then you are now telling me that you are taking just 2?
Okay.
To what effect? The president announced. Last point, just 30 seconds. The reason is that he interjects me, I don't. The president announced that, he has taken away 14% at a time when he knew that the only body that is clothed by law to do that was the PURC. The president didn't give a hoot about the PRC. Yes. Was that not what happened?
The president also made a proposal to the PRC.
When it was presented,
it wasn't a proposal. Let me go to Dr. Jinapop. Gentlemen, that's okay. Dr. Jinapop, so this tax is going to go down to 13%. Certainly, consumers will benefit from it.
Well, I think this whole thing needs to be put in context. It needs to be put in context in the sense that the reality on the ground is that people are really complaining when it comes to the prices of food. There's no doubt about it, and I don't want to play politics with it. All I'm interested in is that something needs to be done about it.
So 2% off?
2%, when you ask yourself, I mean, the 2% even is still supposed to go through a certain kind of process.
Right.
It's not as if when you go to the pump today, fuel price is going to go down. And that is the problem that we have mostly when we have price reductions. But you see, right, this issue is a political issue, and we need to understand it. We need to understand it within the context in which this whole special petroleum tax came about. It came back in 2016. In fact, it was introduced by the NDC. Why did the NDC introduce it? The NDC introduced it because, if you remember, in 2016, crude oil prices were what? Were plummeting. And Ghana being an exporter of oil, it was affecting our what? Our revenues. So they had to introduce this what? This tax in order to augment the income generation of what? Of the country. The question that needs to be asked right today, what is the situation? Because this tax was brought for a particular reason. Because there was what? There was a reduction in what? The price of crude oil. Right. Today, what is the situation? And I find it quite ironic when you hear the two sides of the political aisle changing their stance. I can imagine, when this particular tax was introduced in 2016, that electioneering year, NPP made a lot of noise about it. And I'm tempted to believe that they made political capital out of it. Today, they are in power. They are reducing it by what? By 2%.
They have reduced it from 17.5 and now from 15 to
13%, 4%. What is the NDC saying? The NDC is saying that they should scrap it.
Because they promised they were going to scrap it.
Yes, but what was that? Let me finish. Agreed. What was it?
Agreed. Please allow Dr. Jinapot to read.
What was the stance of the NDC when it introduced it? Was it a temporary measure to augment, as I said, the shortage in terms? What was that? Is there evidence, empirical evidence to buttress that?
Oh yes. In fact,
let me. Is there empirical evidence to buttress that? Okay, that's fine. If that is the case, then I think please
allow.
If that is the case, then the NDC must provide that evidence. But you see, right? Be it as it may, I think as a people, as Ghanaians, as voters, as ordinary citizens, our interest is to at least have some respite in terms of what our cost of living. The cost of living, my brother, don't lie to yourself. Cost of living is really high, and I wish and hope that government will be able to do something. And I think, look, in terms of this fuel price increase and all those things, when the economy is strong, when the dollar is very strong, when productivity is high, it affects all these issues. So yes, it's good that government has reduced it from 17 to 30, but I think more needs to be done. 2% is insignificant.
Okay, all right.
2% definitely is insignificant.
All right.
Can I read?
Comment, you can't read anything.
Gentlemen,
I am grateful. I am grateful for your time, gentlemen, for letting your morning. Dr. Ahmed Jinapot is from the University of Education, Widiba. Saka Salia is a member of the NPP's communication team, and Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed is a former Deputy Trade Minister, member of the NDC, a former member of Parliament for the Nanton constituency. I'm grateful for your morning with us. Stay with us. There is more coming up on the show.